Good morning, Awaken. Thanks so much for joining me this morning for our devotions. We're continuing on in chapter 4 of Philippians, and today we're just going to read verse 4, where Paul says, as he famously does, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice." We said back in verse 1, we noted how when Paul says stand firm, he doesn't just say stand firm, he says stand firm in the Lord. And then we see in verses 2 and 3 when he's talking about Euodia and Syntyche, these two ladies who are having some type of conflict. He's saying, he calls them to have the same mind in the Lord. And now in verse 4, he's saying it again, rejoice in the Lord. And I think that distinction is absolutely key because the Lord is the source and the author of our joy. In fact, there is no rejoicing without the Lord. As we've been saying throughout all of these devotions, I think we're up to 3 dozen or so, the common theme has been the Lord stays the same, even in the midst of a crisis. So though our circumstances are changing constantly, we can have a constant source of joy because the Lord is our joy and He never changes. Which is why Paul, while he's in prison writing this, can say with confidence, rejoice in the Lord always. And then for special emphasis, he says, I will say it again, rejoice. He knows how important joy is for the believer. He knows how important joy in the Lord is for the believer. And so he emphasizes this again and again in this situation. And I think Paul is really a model for us in this. It's amazing to me how joyful he is, even though his circumstances were far from being comforting or glamorous in any regard. What I love about Paul is no matter what situation he finds himself in, he fixes his eyes on the Lord and he finds a reason to rejoice in his God. So thanks so much for joining me this morning. Rejoice in the Lord. Don't look for something to rejoice in your circumstances because there might not be anything to rejoice in your circumstances, but your God is with you. Your God is here. Rejoice in Him today. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow.